And they're like, oh yeah, he's here. And I admit, like, I felt something in that moment. And it couldn't have been more than just a few minutes later. His personal dressing room opened up and he came out in the full costume.
Whoa.
So I never saw him without his mask on or any of it. Like he just emerged as Jushin Liger. And
Right.
in that moment, it really was like, I remember what it was like when I was 8 years old and my parents took me to Disney World and I got to meet Mickey and Goofy,
Yeah.
right? Like, those, as a child, those are the characters from the movies, right? They're not a person inside a costume.
Yeah.
You're meeting Mickey Mouse in that moment. And I thought, when I saw him, I immediately went back to where I was watching him on WCW Saturday night after the A Team and Knight Rider were over. Like, this is the reason I've been doing this for 16 years. He's right there. And of
Yeah.
course, I want to express that to him, but I also know that doesn't belong in a wrestling locker room. Like,
Mm.
that type of behavior doesn't belong here. We had a discussion because his English is better than he lets on. And basically, he said, I'm absolutely exhausted from my trip here.
Hmm.
The travel itinerary has been just absolutely exhausting. It would mean a lot to me if you would just put the match together. And if you know my moves, just plug in what I'm supposed to do. And once that's done, just tell me whatever you came up with because I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
And then I think he maybe went and took a nap or something. He disappeared for a while.
Hmm.
And I thought, this is the guy to me. He's my idol, my hero, my inspiration. What is the greatest service I can do to thank him? And I thought, he needs a night off in the ring.
Yeah.
I am going to design the easiest possible match for him to have. Um, and it really put me in the right space because going into it, I was like, I'm going to have the match I've dreamed about for 16 years with Jushin Liger tonight. But when I saw him just as a fellow wrestler, just another journeyman, and a
Hmm.
guy who was tired and beat, my heart just went out to him. And I thought, no, the thing I want to do is give him a night off. When the match is over, I want him to say, that was the easiest match I've ever had. And that was the approach that I took the rest of the night. Um, Before we parted ways, he said to me, I would love to wrestle you again in Japan. And when he said that, my heart was all aflutter
Right.
because there's no greater validation I could have asked for from my hero, but it never came to pass. Although we
Mm.
did tag together later on, um, we never had that chance in Japan. But
Man.
I'm very thankful for that experience. That was Jersey All Pro Wrestling who put
Yeah.
that on for us, and um, I'm really grateful that those guys, they could have put anybody in that spot. They could have chosen, the independents had hundreds and thousands of choices, but they chose to give that to me, and I'll never forget it. It was a wonderful experience.
I love that so much. Yeah, I really wanted to ask about that story because, like you said, he's the reason why you got into pro wrestling, and also, I've loved him since I was a kid too. And when I finally got to see him live, I was like, this is huge. This is, obviously Japan would be amazing, but here in America, I get this. What more can I ask for?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a segment on the show. I call it the 5 count. Just 5 random questions. Just answer as soon as the answers come to your brain.
All right. I'm ready.
Okay.
Let's do it.
What is your go-to breakfast order?
My go-to breakfast order. That's a great question. Right now, this is what I'm eating all the time.
Okay.
I know this sounds ridiculous. I eat a protein Pop-Tart. It's a thing.
They're good. No, I had them. My buddy told me about them when we were at Mania this past year, and I
Yeah.
was like, and they're at HEB here in Texas, and I'm like,
Yes.
oh, these are fantastic. The cinnamon rolls are really good too.
Yes. I've
Yeah,
been eating that because I'm like, I'm doing a healthy thing.
right. Of course. Yeah. Then you look at all the sugars, you're like, maybe not.
Right. No, don't look. John,
Don't
don't
look.
look.
Mm-mm. Just focus on the protein, and it tastes good, and then
Yes.
you just keep going. If you owned a liquor company, brewery, winery, or coffee shop, which one would you own, and what would the name be?
Oh, wow. I would love to own a coffee shop where there's like magazines and comic books out that people can just read
Yeah.
somewhere. What would you call it though? Oh man. Like, it feel like it's got to be clever. It
Yeah.
has to have like a pun in it or
Uh-huh.
something. Um, there, I can't come up with one, but there's a local a coffee shop near me, which I have to believe was named by a Rick Rude fan because it's called Brewed Awakening.
That's perfect. That I wish I'd have known that when I was up there because I would definitely would have gone there. What are three things still on your bucket list, whether they be career or life or together?
Wow. I've spent a lot of time thinking about exactly that. I'm coming off a broken foot. So I just got out of my walking boot last week.
Good. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank goodness. But those 8 weeks of being idle gave me a lot of time to think about what do I want to do? And here's a question I think I never took the time to really answer for myself. And I think it doesn't matter if you're a wrestler or what you do in life. This is an important question. What does success mean to you?
Mm-hmm.
Is it about money? Is it about acclaim? Is it about some other thing? Because you can pick. It can be whatever means something to you.
Right.
And something I came to realize was um, I love being able to get out there and see the world and
Mhm.
share my passion for wrestling with people in other countries.
Right.
And I think when I really landed on that, it crystallized for me what I need to get out and do.
Mm.
That there are all these countries out there and just regions of the world. I've never been to the Middle East. I've never been to Southeast Asia. I've never been anywhere in Africa. I've
Right.
yet to go to Central or South America. And when I just started kind of writing them down, like, I absolutely need to go and wrestle in Brazil.
Right.
Like, it really crystallized it for me and made me appreciate, like, why did I not figure this out
Yeah.
until I'm 30 years into doing this? Um, because I think a lot of us, we're willing to just accept what other people say success is,
Right.
right? Like if your friends are like, well, it's about material things. It's
Mm-hmm.
about this car or having a pool at their house or whatever. You're like, right, that is what it is. That
Mm-hmm.
sounds correct, but that might not be what works for you. It's not what works for me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like certain championships or having to wrestle certain people or on certain
Yes.
cards. And it's like, if you haven't, then what have you really done? And yeah. So yeah, I understand that.
Mhm.
Who or what inspires you?
I draw a lot of inspiration from outside of wrestling now.
Mm-hmm.
I look at musicians who are relentlessly creative in their career, like David Byrne, the former frontman of Talking Heads.
Yeah.
Every couple years, he finds someone new to collaborate with that opens up a new part of his creativity.
That's right.
Um, he recently staged a Broadway show. Before that, he did like a book of photography. Before that, he figured out how to wire up like a cathedral so you could play the whole building like it was a musical instrument.
Oh, that's amazing.
He's relentlessly finding new things that, yeah, they kind of fit within the greater genre of creativity, but he's relentless. And I
Mhm.
love watching what he's doing and how fearless he is about just doing collaborations. So I take great inspiration from that. Um, and then also just like every once and again, whether I'm reading a book that will really inspire me, I just reread Start With Why by Simon Sinek. It's brilliant. It's incredibly powerful. Or sometimes I just get sucked right into a television show,
Mhm.
some new thing that I'm watching. I just did all of X-Men 97 on Disney Plus.
I hear it's
And I look
amazing.
at, right?
Yeah.
Amazing. I look at that and I'm like, those are faces and those are heels, and we should be
Mhm.
doing this all as wrestling. Can we make a wrestling show, people? So I draw from everywhere.
That's amazing. Yeah. So you're inspired by creativity.
Hmm.
Yeah. And what would you tell your 17-year-old self?
Um, I would tell my 17-year-old self, it's almost never about you.
Mm,
I recently I heard this term coined. Have you ever heard of main character syndrome?
I have not. No.
I just heard this like a week or two ago. And it's that tendency, and I think social media exacerbates this,
Yes.
to imagine that like you are the main character in the series of life. And
Mm-hmm.
that's really only true to you. But
Uh,
you imagine it must be true to everybody else.
right.
Everybody else isn't thinking about you every minute of the day. Everybody else isn't out there to get you, right? Everybody's not out there trying to screw you up. It's not about you most of
Uh,
the time. Now, yeah, every once and again it is,
yes.
but most of the time it's not.
Yes.
Um, but I think when I was coming up in wrestling, and I started right after my 18th birthday.
Thank you you so much to Mike Quakenbush. A little peek behind the curtain. We did try to record a separate part because Zoom only gives us 40 minutes. We tried another 40 minutes. Unfortunately, I did not record the entire conversation. So he's definitely coming back on the show. I can't wait for it. Mike Quakenbush has so much history and stories when it does come to the world of pro wrestling that we didn't even get into, and everything outside of it. He is an author as well. So I love it. I love Mike Quakenbush, and I can't wait for him to be back on the show. So while you're following him on the social medias, make sure to follow us on the social medias. It is Brewsers Pod. That is BREWSERSPOD on the Instagram, the Threads, and the Twitter. If you want to send us an email, it is brewserspod@gmail.com. If you want to follow me personally, it is Rodie John. That is RODIEJON. Rodie John is the name on the Twitter and on Untapped. In case you want to find out what I'm drinking, maybe we can have a beer together. If you want to follow me on the Threads or the Instagram, it is official Rodie John. So until next time, make sure to enjoy life, drink local, and cheers.